The Bible clearly states in Leviticus 18:22 that homosexuality is an abomination unto God. But Leviticus also states that eating bacon and shellfish are also abominations. So forget about your sexual orientation. An entree of oysters called Patrick will send you straight to hell. But seriously, most Christians are aware that quoting from the Old Testament is a double-edged sword, as most of it's no longer relevant, as for example, the majority of Leviticus deals with the what, when, how and why of sacrifice, which God apparently took pretty seriously in his day as he killed Aaron's kids for not doing it right. But nowadays it appears to be pretty much obsolete. You see, times and attitudes have changed since the book of Leviticus. For instance, today's Christian prefers to call mediums via psychic hotlines for readings, in preference to stoning them to death. And besides, as a Christian, you don't need the Old Testament when opposing gay marriages. Christ was sort of against it anyway. Jesus clearly states in selected versions of the New Testament at least, that homosexuality is in fact a sin. But unfortunately, he also lists it as a sin that's on par with the sin of adultery. So what, you may ask? Well, you see, not just selected, but all versions of the New Testament state in no uncertain terms that if a woman divorces, she's committing adultery. Or if a man or woman divorces, then remarries someone else, then they're committing adultery. Or even if a man marries a divorced woman, then he's committing adultery. And with the Christian divorce rate being higher than any other religious or non-religious group, then by sheer numbers alone they would have to be causing far more damage to the so-called sanctity of marriage than gay marriage ever could. So why isn't the far bigger problem of Christian adulterers committing to sin by divorcing and remarrying the real focus of Christian lobby groups? How is it that some Christians feel they have the right to enforce their scriptures on others when they can't even follow them for themselves? And what is the actual criteria to what scripture is relevant and what isn't? For instance, it's widely accepted that women no longer have to cover their heads in church as instructed by Christ because it was a custom of the day and no longer a custom of today. So, therefore, irrelevant. Really? Couldn't you write off the entire Bible using this criteria? Listen, there's a ton of scripture that isn't treated relevant today because it's been recognised by Christians that it dealt with the culture and customs of the times. Likewise, the concept of same-sex couples living in a loving, caring, monogamous relationship wouldn't have been tolerated in the Bronze Age, but it is accepted by every civilised society of today. So what is your problem, religion? I'm sorry, but this whole highly selective and hypocritical argument is nothing more than sanctioned homophobic behaviour that would be illegal if practised by any non-religious group.